Okay, guys, really short one today. Um, I'm kind of off the cuff on this. I want to talk about. I was thinking about talking about renal arteries today, but you know what? No, let's talk about that um, in a couple days, perhaps. What I want to talk about today is portal hypertension. I'm just, like I said, it's off the cuff. I just, I want to help you guys to um, not just memorize the words, but understand the concepts here. Um, so let me share this screen here and see how we do. Okay. So there's three kinds. In fact, let's zoom up into the chest region here because we don't really need this spot. This is all chest. It's above this line, this great curved line will be the diaphragm. And there's sinusoidal. We'll start with sinusoidal. Where's my pen? Here that is. That is weird. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm having to write off the side of my pad here because no, this sinusoidal, and that is going to be, for the most part, we'll just say cirrhosis, sinusoidal. In other words, the liver itself is the problem. When we say sinusoidal, it's the liver itself. What do we call it before? Post sinusoidal. That is either going to be the heart itself. So yeah, heart failure can actually lead to liver failure, which is kind of, you know, double jeopardy on that. But if the blood cannot get out of the liver because of a faulty heart, because of right heart congestion, then that has effects on the liver. Or we could also, at the same time, say, let's say like Bud Chiari. Once again, blood cannot leave the liver in the correct way, then that is a post-sinusoidal. It is after the liver causing portal hypertension. This is all portal. HTN, portal hypertension. Cheater circle there. And then, so there was sinusoidal, post-sinusoidal, and of course, then we have to have a pre-sinusoidal hypertension. And that's basically going to be a blood clot in the main portal vein. So main portal vein obstruction, either a tumor, blood clot, impingement of some kind. Main portal vein obstruction is pre-sinusoidal. So let's first talk about sinusoidal, because everything that's the main thing we're going to be looking at out in the field anyway. But, and like I said, this is usually some kind of cirrhosis, alcoholic cirrhosis, viral hepatitis causing cirrhosis, certain disease states where metabolic disease states like Wilson's disease, or holding on to too much iron, too much copper. Those can eventually cause sinusoidal or cirrhosis. Okay, so we have a portal system. Let's think about why the portal system exists. All right, let's work backwards. I always draw it from this way. Let's just work backwards. We have a right portal vein. It has a couple of branches that I'll draw like this. That's right portal vein. And then off, oh, you know what? I'm going to try drawing the left portal vein. How is it? It actually, in reality, the little man's upside down. Little man is upside down in reality. But we usually we see it the other way, so just keep that in mind. Okay. So blood flow, of course, is going into the liver from this portal system. Then we have a main portal vein. That's the main portal vein from here to here. You can see that it basically, as soon as, if not prior to entering the liver, it splits off. And so if you're in the liver looking, you are looking probably at the right portal vein, not the main portal vein. Just keep that in mind. Now, where does this begin? Where does this portal vein begin? It begins at the confluence, which we often see as a bit of a bulging of the vein. So I'll kind of make it a little bit of a bulge, and that's not really that realistic. But then what is a confluence of? It's a confluence of two veins. One is the splenic vein, and the other, let me erase just a little bit of this here because I kind of screwed that up a little bit. And then, of course, the other is the superior mesenteric vein. Actually, I'm going to draw from bottom up because I'm figuring out that for some reason I could actually. Okay. So here is our superior mesenteric vein, main portal vein. Please tell me I'm recording. Yep. Spleen, so that's the splenic vein. Let me just draw in. I don't often draw it because we really never see it in ultrasound. But in the case of portal hypertension, we might see it. And that is the, inferior mesenteric vein. It comes up here. Usually stuck behind, some gas and stuff, so not easily seen. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a iced Starbucks here. They've stopped carrying my favorite drink though, so I think it might be done with Starbucks. Okay. Actually, let me take another little eraser. Here's another thing we don't normally see, but this one's also important. This one's going to go up to here. Good Lord. Now, this is the left gastric vein coming into the main portal vein. This is small. We do not, under normal circumstances, we do not see this vein. Part of it goes to the stomach. Part of it actually will go up to the last third, the lower third of the esophagus. Okay. And let's just do a little, oops. Esophageal veins. It's actually a plexus of veins. That's like a net of veins. So the esophageal veins go up here, goes down to the left gastric vein, goes into the main portal vein. In our exam, we see this guy, we see this guy, we see this guy, and this guy, all right? That's what we see normally, so that's what we're going to normally look at. Now, if we have a liver that has cirrhosis, we now have a situation, and just remember, let's just use a different color here so I can just quickly draw in a course from the seagull, wrong color, and also a little bit on the big side. from the seagull is the hepatic artery. Of course, he's coming in, and the hepatic artery is going to split as well, and that's bringing blood in, and the main didn't mean that. And the main portal vein, of course, is bringing blood in as well. So everything I've drawn so far is going into the liver. Let's talk about really quickly why. All of this down here, all of this down here, that is draining the intestines. You don't eat food for the sake of eating food. You eat food to get nutrients into the body. Sometimes you eat poisons. Poisons get into the body. But all of that, good stuff, bad stuff, it all gets into the portal system and goes straight to the liver, because that is the clearinghouse of it's kind of manufacturer of taking all of this raw material and creating good stuff out of it. So fats, sugars, alcohol, everything goes to the liver first, where it's processed. Now the spleen, why is that a part of the portal system? Because that's eating too, or that's digesting. In a sense, it is digesting old red blood cells. So old red blood cells are going into the liver as well. And it's not insignificant. There are quite a few red blood cells that are taken out of the system every single day. So that's not an insignificant number. So spleen, IMV, SMV, they're basically taking good and bad material all to the liver to be processed by the liver. Stomach as well, from the left gastric vein. Esophagus, that doesn't really make any sense, but it's there. And there's actually another vein, the cystic vein, going to the gallbladder. And that really, that there's no need for the cystic vein to go into the main portal vein, other than the fact that it's right there, and so why not? But there's no, you know what I mean? There's no metabolic reason for that, at least not that I know of. Okay, so we have two blood supplies going in. Actually, most of the blood going into the liver under normal situation is under the main portal vein, but it's low pressure. Low millimeters mercury, low blood pressure, or actually low BP in millimeters mercury. And this guy, the artery, is high. I mean, high is in normal blood pressure. All right. So when it becomes difficult, when the liver starts saying, starts resisting the blood supply going into it, the high blood pressure is going to continue to go in. The low blood pressure is going to slow down. And at first it just slows down. And you might still have forward flow, but perhaps the main portal vein gets a little bit big. 13 millimeters is the normal maximum width of the lumen. So when you measure this, you measure lumen only. 13 millimeters is the normal maximum. Once you get to 13, 14 millimeters, you start to wonder what's going on. Anything beyond that, then certainly we're probably going to call it portal hypertension. Let's just get rid of some of this stuff. It's going to get messy real fast. Okay. So we have a high pressure artery feeding the liver, a low pressure vein. Once it starts getting difficult to take that blood in, the low pressure vein is going to show the response. And so perhaps the first thing that's going to happen, let's just go ahead and draw in a increased size here. So now you can kind of see that seems a little bit big for my main portal vein. Just kind of messing around here. So that could be the very first thing we see. What's the next thing we see? Well, if this is going to get large, well, why not veins all the way here? outside of the spleen here. And so not only do they get large, they can also become a little tortuous. So things get a little bigger at the splenic hilum. Perhaps the spleen itself gets a little bit bigger. It's getting bigger because it drains into the liver. It doesn't drain into the IVC. It doesn't drain back to the heart. It drains to the liver. So if the liver is not taking blood, this guy is going to start backing up. And so now maybe he's getting bigger. He's got a kind of a bulbous butt there. So their spleen's getting, you're getting splenomegaly now. Let's see, what else? Hidden to us, let's just start painting in. Hidden to us, because we really can't see the esophagus all that well. Perhaps the esophageal veins are getting larger. I'll start filling in some of these other areas here. So the esophageal veins start to get varices because they're draining into the liver and it's getting backed up. It could have stomach varices, although we usually don't see these. Why? Because it's stomach. Stomach is always gassy. Veins along the SMV. So all the way out here, we could start getting varices down here. But once again, we're probably not going to see varices of the SMV and the IMV quite as well, simply because it's intestines, it's gassy, and we typically don't look down here. So we're not accustomed to it. We do our scan from spleen to liver and all these organs up here. As things get worse, more and more of this vein becomes enlarged. Same thing along here. So now we have all these varices in the area because blood cannot go through the liver as easily. Eventually, things start to go really backwards and are really wrong. And instead of flowing into the liver like normal, we start to flow out of the liver. So you may find on a person with severe cirrhosis blood flow in the wrong direction. So the liver is being fed by the artery, drained by the main portal vein. And at that point, by the way, you're talking about long-term cirrhosis. So let's draw in something else. We're going to increase the size of this artery. Because if that's the only thing feeding the liver, it's going to have compensatory hypertrophy. It's going to bring in a lot more blood. And then that blood is, of course, now going to be backwards. Down the main portal vein. And at some point, it's going to find some kind of collateral flow to the central venous system. When I say central venous system, I mean the IVC, and all things going back directly to the heart. I'm gonna get rid of my blue because I'm probably gonna draw in some other stuff. Okay. So what else can happen? So like I said, you know, it'll be reversed, and then it'll find somewhere it'll find its way back into the IVC. That's not a really ideal situation. So what's another situation? Well, and anytime it finds let's say a reversal of flow and then back to the IVC somehow, that's a decompression route. Another decompression route is, you see the little man here. Well, what do we always talk about with the little man? What do we see coming off the little man's head? Is the Let's just write it down here. Ligamentum teres. That's the one that comes off of the little man's head. If you're able to follow it, you'll see that it comes off the head. In fact, when we look at the left portal vein, sagittally, it kind of looks like this. Looks like a little bent, funny-looking creature here. If you get it just right, you will see echogenic lines going out to the tip of the liver and then beyond. That's the ligamentum teres. Now, if you're looking at that ligamentum teres in such a way that you see flow going up the left portal vein and out all the way down to the belly button, that's a decompression. That is a patent ligamentum teres. In other words, a patent or a canalized umbilical vein. Recanalized umbilical vein. So that you would see that here. And you would see it coming out of the liver. That's a way, that's like I said, I know I'm repeating myself, but I feel like I need to. Decompression of the system. That's your body's way of decompressing the system. The doctor's way of decompressing the system is pretty cool. Tips, we mentioned this just the other day. I have a IVC here with three, let's draw these in a little bit more so we can see them. So IVC, and then three main, as we've seen with JP, you could have more than three. Hepatic veins. The doctors can come in and let's see what color do I want to use. Just use something. I will make it like a green. They'll actually, let's see, I always, tips. Transjugular, should be like GIPS, to GIPS. Transjugular intrahepatic portal systemic shunt. So transjugular meaning they go through the neck. Your doctor will go through the neck, down the, right through the heart, right through the IVC, and depending, use probably the middle or maybe the left portal vein or hepatic vein, and they'll poke a hole right through the parenchyma of the liver into the left portal vein, open up a little, kind of a cage here, not a, to allow blood flow. So of course what happens then, and that's another way of decompressing. That's the doctor's way of helping you decompress. So now you have, let's do portal blood being a little purple pinky, so we see the difference here. So now they've created a situation where the blood is coming up hepatopedally, but most of it is bypassing the liver and going back to the heart. And you think, well, why on earth would we want to bypass the liver? Well, normally we wouldn't. Normally that's a bad thing. But when it's a matter of life and death, you would rather bypass the liver than simply die. Now, how does the liver work at that point? Well, remember, this hepatic artery is still feeding the liver. It's feeding the same exact cells as the portal vein does. And so, unfortunately, now when you eat your food, all of that both toxins and good and bad and everything, all the nutrients that you have absorbed now kind of bypass the liver, go all the way through your body, eventually make its way into the hepatic artery, eventually make its way to the liver, where it's eventually processed. So it's far less efficient, but better than nothing. So it still works. Let's see. Anything else with regular old cirrhosis? And so anyway, reversal of flow is possible. The recanalization of the umbilical vein is possible. Reverse flow in the right portal vein, but not in the left portal vein is possible. You might find that with recanalization because blood is coming down the right portal and then back up the left portal and down to the belly button. And from the belly button, by the way, it just spreads out. Varices, the esophageal varices, are the worst ones simply because they have a tendency to bleed out. By the way, people with cirrhosis, not only are they have a tendency to bleed through their varices, they also have they tend to have less of ability to clot their blood, and so when they bleed out. And it's one major reason for finding splenomegaly. Okay. So let's just right back, erase. I should have put so many green lines because I could only erase so much with Control Z. All right, we're good. Okay, what's the next one I want to talk about? Let's just do post-sinusoidal because it's easy enough, even though I just erased my hepatic veins. We'll just draw them back in. All right, hepatic veins normally like that. And if you have Budd Chiari in one or all of them, you have blood clots. If you have blood clots in all three major veins, hepatic veins, you're probably not going to make it. That's deadly. That kills liver really fast. So this is a post-sinusoidal. It's not really the liver, it's the blood flow trying to leave the liver. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is if you find veins that are particularly large, so a lot of times we have a hard time finding people's hepatics. They're barely seen. Other times, if they're gigantic, that's evidence, once again, of right-sided heart failure. And the pressure, the back pressure, making this blood basically pool right here. Well, if it's pooling right here, there might not be a blood clot, but it's not exactly flowing either. And so if the blood's not flowing out of the liver, it has a hard time flowing into the liver. And so you can see evidence of that all the way down to the main portal vein. Pre-sinusoidal, okay, well, let's draw another blood clot in. This could be a clot, this could be a tumor. It's not a tumor. Let's just put a clot right here. Now, if you have if it's acute, you're just simply going to have a clot. You're going to have a very sick patient. But if it's chronic, this person's had this clot is built up over time, and they've built up a resistance over time. What you end up having, let's do purpley color for portal blood. what you end out having is little, there's always little veins that can bypass. And so instead of one portal vein going in, you have multiple veins in the area from probably the portal system, and they were veins that were actually sentient, and they're like not patent, from all the way from when you were a baby and they are no longer in use, or perhaps they were just very, very, very tiny accessory veins in the area that have now been recruited to take the blood into the liver. And this phenomenon is pre-sinusoidal, it's before the liver, and the phenomenon itself is called cavernous, what the heck pen am I using? Transformation. Cavernous transformation of the portal vein. So these are all things, because I've had a couple of questions lately. What are we actually looking for with the veins? Well, this is what we're looking for. Let me add something about waveform. When we look at the waveform here, and we'll put a spectral pulse wave right here. So my region of interest is right here. By the way, when we do hepatic veins, you don't want to have your spectral way far away, because it's not going to show the same thing. It's not going to show really what you want to see. So somewhat close to the heart, somewhat close to the exit of the, let's see, right, middle, and left portal veins. The waveform should be, let's draw a little straight line here first. And let's see. That's more or less. If it doesn't cross the baseline, fine. Don't worry about it, because a lot of times we'll see the baseline will be all the way up here, and but you still have the same general waveform, as long as it's somewhat of a W, 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 W. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's somewhat like that, that shows that the blood flow is dynamic. The heart has a dynamic pressure in it. The liver is supple. The tissue is supple. That allows this. Basically, it's like in arteries, we call it a Wind-Kessel effect. In veins, I don't think it's really called Wind-Kessel, but really it's the same thing. The compliance of the vessel against the soft tissue of the liver allows this to occur. If, on the other hand, that's your baseline and you get something more like that, whoops, get rid of you get something more like that, steady state, and you're fairly close to the heart here. You're down here, you're here, you're there, and you're getting something like that. Well, that could be a little more of an indication that the liver itself is stiff. The veins are probably being squeezed shut a little bit because of the stiffness. So that is an issue. We don't necessarily want to see a total flat, steady state flow going into the heart. If, on the other hand, we have a situation where it's exaggerated, that could actually be right-sided heart failure, because and the high pressure in the atrium transmits too much energy back down. And so if it's the correct W, but it goes way past midline and back, and then way past midline and back, that is high right heart pressure, and that could be an indication of a heart disease. That as well, remember, is one reason for post-sinusoidal portal hypertension. By the way, if you see this and you want to confirm, well, maybe am I seeing that? Is that right? We can come down to this. Let's get rid of my blood clot here. Get rid of some of this collateral flow. We don't need the collateral flow right now because we're not talking about that anymore. But we now put our spectral here. And gosh, I didn't leave myself a whole lot of room, did I? And we have a waveform that looks like really pulsatile, not quite arterial, but certainly with arterial pulsations. And you couple, see, basically, when you see this very pulsatile main portal vein, it might be traveling in the right direction, but it's very pulsatile. And then you go back and you look at the hepatic veins, and they're hyperpulsatile. That's heart failure. Small pulsations, oops, are normal. Well, you get what I mean. Pulse, 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 pulse. We could see some pulsations, just they cannot be exaggerated. Certainly if they're crossing midline, that would certainly be abnormal. Okay. I think that's all I want to talk about with portal hypertension. Sinusoidal, basically cirrhosis. It is the liver itself is not accepting blood from the portal vein because it's just not, it can't. Post-sinusoidal, it's either the heart or the IVC or the hepatic veins. So right-sided heart failure, a Budd-Chiari, or maybe even a mass in the area could all cause post-sinusoidal portal hypertension. And pre-sinusoidal, that's basically your main portal vein either has a clot or a mass stopping blood from going in. With pre-sinusoidal, if it's long-term, if it's chronic, other blood vessels will have been recruited in the area to fill the void, and they will actually, instead of seeing a main portal vein, you will see multiple small vessels feeding the liver instead of one large vessel feeding the liver. Yeah, that's about it for today. I think next time we'll talk a little bit about the renal artery exam. All right, let's end this. I'll see half of you this afternoon.